Okay, welcome to 9.2. Compare fractions with the same denominator. So remember, the denominator is the bottom number that tells you the total amount of pieces in the fraction. Still looking at the Common Core standard of developing an understanding of fractions as numbers. Your lesson objective today is to compare fractions with the same denominator by using models and reasoning strategies. Your essential question is, how can you compare fractions with the same denominator? So keep that in mind as we go through so that you can journal about it at the end. Getting your brain warmed up. Problem of the day. A carton of fruit has 48 oranges. Another carton has 24 oranges. Jim wants to put all of the oranges from the cartons into equal groups with 9 oranges in each group. How many equal groups can he make? So this is a two-step problem because we don't really know how many total oranges we have yet. So first we need to find out how many total oranges we have. So we have 48 groups and oranges in one carton and 24 in the other carton. So we need to add those up first to find out that we have 72 oranges in all. Now we're going to divide 72 divided by 9. And you can make groups of 9 if you want to until you get to 72, or you can just know your math facts and know that what times 9 equals 72 is 8. So you have how many equal groups? You're going to have 8 equal groups. And hopefully you already knew your math facts and didn't just have to copy my answer. If you're still struggling with your math facts, you really need to get to practicing those, because it makes it so much easier to just pull that out of your head because you knew one math fact, which leads you to 4 math facts, than it is to draw it out every single time. Okay, looking at our lesson for today, we're comparing fractions with the same denominator, unlocking the problem real world. Jeremy and Christina are each making quilt blocks. Both blocks are the same size, and both are made of 4 equal squares. So we have 4 equal squares, so we know that that's going to tell us our denominator. Okay. 2/4 of Jeremy's squares are green, and 1/4 of Christina's squares are green. Whose quilt block has more green squares? Okay. So you're going to first shade 2/4 of Jeremy's quilt block. So there's 4 pieces. You're going to color in 2 of them. And then it has Christina's quilt blocks, which also has 4 total pieces for the denominator, and you're going to color in 1 of them. So then you're going to look at which one has more shaded, and you know that it is Jeremy, so you're going to put your greater than sign in there. 2/4 is greater than 1/4, so Jeremy's quilt block has more green squares. Now, if we look back up in here, it says, how are these two fractions alike? They both have denominators of 4. Okay? So the math idea, you can compare two fractions when you refer to the same whole or to groups of the same size. So it makes it so easy to compare when they're like that, because you have the same denominator. You're really only comparing the numerator. Okay? Compare fractions of a group. Jen and Maggie each have 6 buttons. Shade 3 of Jen's buttons to show the number of buttons that are red. Okay? So we're going to shade 3 of Jen's buttons that are red. Shade 5 of Maggie's buttons to show the number that are red. Write a fraction to show the number of red buttons in each group. So looking at Jen's, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as our denominator, and we colored 3 of them. And if you look at Maggie's, 6 is your denominator, and you colored 5 of them. So the same number of buttons in each group, so you count the number of red buttons to compare the fractions, so that you know you have you're comparing 3 and 5 because of your numerators. I kind of worded that confusing to me for a second. I had to think about it. You're comparing your 3 to your 5, so you know that 3/6 is less than 5/6. So who has the greater red buttons is Maggie. Okay, that goes back to what I was just saying right before we started this problem, is that when your denominators are the same, you only have to compare your numerators. So that's what they're having you do first with that comparing of 3 is less than 5, was that you were looking at your numerator piece. Comparing fractions is pretty simple when you do have the same denominator. So let's look at the top of the next page. I'm on page 356, and I only took a picture of the top slide just so that it could all fit on here. Use fraction strips and a number line. Okay, so you have fraction strips if you want to use them at your center. At the craft store, one piece of ribbon is 2/8 yard long. Another piece of ribbon is 7/8 yard long. If Sean was to buy the longer piece of ribbon, which piece should he buy? Okay, so on a number line, a fraction farther to the right is greater than the fraction on the left. On a number line, a fraction farther to the left is less than the fraction to the right. Okay, I just want you to be able to explain that. So we're going to compare 2/8 and 7/8. So we're going to shade the fraction strips to show the location of 2/8 and 7/8. So I'm going to start with my first number, which is 2/8. Okay, and then I'm going to color 7 on the next one. 2, 3. Okay, to compare those two. Okay. Then it wants us to draw and label points on a number line to represent the distance, 2/8 and 7/8. So they drew the number line and they broke it into 8 total pieces because that was your denominator. Now it wants us to locate these two fractions on that number line. So this is 0/8, so this would be 1/8. So this would be 2/8, so that's where one of our points needs to be. 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8. Here's where that fraction would be. And then you're just going to compare. 2/8 is to the left, which is what this was saying up here, of 7/8. It is closer to 0/8, or to the 0 part of the number line. 7/8 is to the right of the 2/8. Okay, so we're going this direction. It is closer to 8/8, and we know that any number over itself is equal to 1. So if we look at our signs, we have our less than sign first. So our first one is 2/8 is less than 7/8. And then they switch the directions of the sign to be greater than, so it just wants us to write 7/8 is greater than 2/8. So Sean should buy the piece of ribbon that is, which one is greater, is the 7/8. Okay? They're breaking it down so it's pretty easy to understand them thinking. If I'm going too fast, go back and rewatch or come ask for help. Now we're going to use some reasoning. I'm still on page 356 and we're on the bottom of the page now. Molly and Omar are decorating the same size bookmarks. Molly covers 3/3 of her bookmark with glitter. Omar covers 1/3 of his bookmark with glitter. Whose bookmark is covered with more glitter? If you were listening to what I just said on the last one, you really don't even need to work this problem out, but we will, and I'll tell you why at the end. When the denominators are the same, the whole number is divided into same size pieces. You can look at the numerator to compare, which is what I said during lesson 9.1 and at the beginning of this one. Both fractions involve third size pieces. So we're comparing 3/3 and 1/3. So we are comparing 3 pieces, which are their bookmarks. Okay? And in this case, it's your numerator here. And we're comparing it to this numerator, which is 1 piece. So 3 is greater than 1. So we know that 3/3 is greater than 1/3. So who had more glitter was Molly. Now, if you listen to what I had said on the top one and on calendar and lessons before, whenever you have a fraction that has the same number on the top and the same number on the bottom, you know that it is equal to 1. Okay? So you automatically know that a whole is bigger than a fraction. So you would know that Molly covered her whole bookmark with glitter, goodness gracious, and Omar only covered 1/3 of his bookmark. So you didn't really even have to compare them because you know that 1 is bigger than 1/3. Okay, now we are moving on to the next page. You should be on page 357. Share and show. You're going to draw points on the number line to show 1/6 and 5/6, then compare the fractions. So this is what we did on the previous page. So I need to find 1/6, and they already have it labeled, so this one makes it really easy. And 5/6, and which one is bigger? Okay, is to the left or to the right. So 1/6 is to the left of 5/6 on the number line, so you know that 1/6 is smaller. Okay, so always looking at our numerator, you're going to compare 4/8 and 3/8. The denominators are the same, they're both 8, so which one is bigger, 4 or 3? Super easy. Go ahead and finish 3, 4, and 5, please. The denominators are the same, so you're only comparing the numerators. Okay, number 3, 1/4 and 4/4. Comparing the numerators, we know that 4 is bigger than 3. 1/2 and 1/2 is equal. And then comparing our numerators for 3/6 and 2/6, we know that 3 is bigger. Super easy. Your next part is on your own, so you're going to compare those, and as long as the denominators are the same, you just have to look at the numerators. So 6, 7, 8, and 9 are pretty easy, just like we just finished. On 10, 11, 12, and 13, you're going to write a fraction that is less than, greater than, or equal to the given fraction. So you'll have to look at the sign. Remember that you want your denominators to be the same. And number 14 and 15 is problem solving. Carlos finished 5/8 of his art project on Monday. Tyler finished 7/8 of his art project on Tuesday. Who finished more of their art project? And you do have a little bit of room down here that you could write those fractions and show me that you understand how to compare them. Your denominators are the same, so you're only looking at your numerator. You are going to go ahead and finish this page. Moving on to your test prep page, which also is just drawing models. If you need to use the fraction strips, go ahead, especially when you're trying to compare maybe number 17 to find out what the mistake is, and be able to write out that explanation. And then your essential question, how can you compare fractions with the same denominator? Explain what process you did in order to do that, what you're really only looking at. And your math journal, explain how you can use reasoning to compare two fractions with the same denominator. So using kind of your skills of what makes sense. And since we've written about making things make sense, it should be pretty easy for you to go ahead and do that. The grab and go differentiation center kit, again, is also who's the greatest activity, the literature, the whole picture, and the game fraction action if you are done with everything that is on the board. If you don't understand something in this lesson or you need to go back and take some more time, go ahead and rewatch the lesson. It only took us 13 minutes to go through the whole lesson. And we usually do math for an hour to an hour and a half, so you have plenty of time to go review and understand. I will see you for the next lesson of 9.3.